It's the Damion Oliver Show, 2 times a week. Yes, we're here. Thank you for tuning in. It's time to get your mind right. We're talking self-improvement. We gotta love on ourselves, no matter what. It's the Damion Oliver Show.
Hey guys, thanks for coming in and just waiting for us. We're working out some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, my guest today, Dolly Webb, was not able to join the live on video, but she's on the phone with me. She's definitely ready to kind of like just share with us just a little bit about domestic violence and just talk a little bit more about like her story and how this all plays a part in in her life and where she are today and just her journey. For everyone that is joining, thank you for joining. I know this is a very sensitive topic, and we just want to keep that in mind. So if you guys are here, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you feel as if like you're in a situation where you need help, just remember that help is always available. And the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE 7233, or you could text star to 88788 for resources. There are many resources that are available. Domestic violence, if you remain silent, you only strengthen the abuser. And we just want to make sure that we're given light, we're given encouragement. A lot of us have been around people who have gone through some experiences and, may not feel as if like they had voices to, to get them to where they need to get to a safe space. So again, if you know someone, there's help that is out there. Again, thank you for being a part of the Damion Oliver Show. And as I said today, my guest is Dolly. Dolly, if you could go ahead and just introduce yourself, tell us just a little bit about who you are and your story.
Hey, Damion, thanks for having me on the Damion Oliver Show. Thank you. I appreciate you having me here. We met as coworkers and just kind of got into the conversation. I have been happily married now, but I was in a long 10-year relationship with my previous person who was my abuser. And I realized that it's a story that I used to be ashamed of and a story that I was afraid to tell. But now, as I've grown older, I realize it's a story that women, men, and anyone who's in that situation needs to hear.
And, thank you for this opportunity to share. And, I want to create a safe space where we could definitely speak. And, if there's any questions that I'm asking that feels very uncomfortable, please, it's okay to not answer those questions.
Okay.
But let's start from the beginning, before everything changed. Who were you before this relationship and what life looked like back then?
So I was a young teenager, fresh in high school, and thought that this was the love of my life because he was, I didn't know what love is. I didn't know what it meant to be. I come from an island background, and Caribbean islands, usually the men are more dominating, the women are more submissive. And, a lot of times you grow up in an abusive household, not knowing that is abuse. And you heard your father talk down to your mother, or you may have experienced them fighting, but not really knowing why, and thought it was normal. So I grew up in that environment. So when I got my high school boyfriend, I thought it was cute and he was doing all the right things, not realizing the road I was headed down. So, I grew up as the submissive woman, like giving in to the boyfriend, AKA, husband role, because we were engaged as well, years later. So that's kind of like my background there.
Yeah.
and how I met him. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about like, Caribbean background and, dominance and what dominance
Mm-hmm.
looks like, right? So it's easy for us to kind of play that role based on what we've seen and trying to emulate that. Um, Looking back now, were there any early red flags that you may have overlooked or just didn't see?
Yes, definitely. As I've grown older, I look back on the red flags. Just the way they treat you as women. We want to be. We want the attention.
Mm-hmm.
We want someone to compliment us. We think that this protective person is normal,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a certain protection that's not normal. It's more of him owning you, what you're wearing, and other being the jealous person. You think, oh, he's just protecting me and securing me, and like he thinks I'm the number one woman. But if he's jealous and he's got these things that he needs to work out, understanding the environment that he's from as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's important to understand that, and understanding his upbringing. He comes from an environment where he was abused as a child. I think it's normal for him, to put his hands on his sister, or to be beaten by his mother, or thinking that that is a normal behavior, or to talk down on you, and then to make you feel like, you're the reason why he's angry. You made him do that,
Mm-hmm.
or you made him hit you. You were just talking back, or, that you started arguments for nothing type of situation. It's always you were the person who provoked it.
Mm-hmm.
You were the person that brought the anger out in him. You bring the jealousy out in him. Why are you dressed like that? Why are other men looking at you like that? So looking at those types of behavior, and especially when he is insecure about himself,
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel as though that, yeah, maybe I am the reason why he hit me.
Mm.
Maybe what he's saying is correct. So it's almost like this mind game that he's playing with you. But I've learned quickly that no man who loves you should ever put their hands on you.
Absolutely.
No man,
Mm-hmm.
And say that they love you, and apologize for it. It doesn't change the fact that what you did, because if he's done it once, he'll do it again.
Yeah. Too many times we have seen these signs, and a lot of the things that you mentioned before in terms of like the red flags being overlooked,
Mm-hmm.
right, in the name of love, or things that are familiar for us as we see them, right? And just quick statistic: it's not just female who goes through abuse, contrary to popular belief, right? But men go through abuse just as much as female does, because there are different types of
Correct.
abuse, right? So there's the emotional, the mental, and financial control,
Right.
which is just as damaging. Can you talk about a time where you felt that, where if that was even something that was prevalent while you were dating and being engaged to this individual?
So I was dating because, sometimes Caribbean families don't have the I love yous.
Mm.
They don't have the warm and fuzzies where they hug you. And so sometimes you yearn for that. So it could be from your background.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a woman, I felt like, wow, this is my boyfriend. And he was, a little older than I was. And he was saying all the right things and doing all the right things. He opened the doors for me. He bought me nice things.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like that materialistic, mentally getting in your head type of person. And he gave me an emotional fulfillment. Every woman wants to be loved or feel like they're number one.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel like the man that they're with is putting them on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this was my person. And then mentally, he just made me believe like, the reason why he did those things is because I was it. And then financially, I was the more stable one, to say the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
So he felt a little inferior to me. So he had to find a way to make me feel as though I was less, or that, he was more in control and more dominant, make himself feel like a man. So sometimes it's hard for a woman to see that when you're in it, because you feel like, you don't want to go backwards. You don't want to go live with your parents again, or like you have nowhere to go. And then you're ashamed to tell anybody or even to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start hiding and making up stories for it. And you kind of believe in your head that it's okay and it's your fault. And this is not really, really true that's happening to you. But you're still caught up in that love. You
Right.
feel like you love him and you want to be with him, and things will get better. You think if you change yourself or do things differently, like maybe things will get better, but it doesn't. It gets worse.
Definitely does. Was there a point when you felt isolated or trapped, and what kept you from leaving earlier?
So that's a hard one because, once you realize that you're independent, just like anyone living in an apartment, you feel the freedom of independence and not having to be at your parents or like your family, because you're now ashamed, right? You're coming around with the black eyes. You can't go around your family for them to see the bruises and the black eyes, right? You got to find a way to hide it. So you kind of isolate yourself because now you have to heal and get over the bruises. You find a way to hide it and to make up stories. So you're lying to yourself and the people around you.
Right.
And so you isolate yourself so you don't have to tell those lies. You do have to wear the makeup because financially you got to provide for yourself and pay for your bills. But you kind of start becoming this introvert and start closing out people around you because you don't want people asking you questions. And you realize that you're losing yourself. And now you're trying to be this person that this man has created, and trying to do things so that you don't get beat or don't piss him off. You try to define how you wear your clothes because now you don't want to wear something provocative. So you become this person kind of like walking on eggshells, per se. And you don't want to go around anyone else that'll say something that will like make him think, oh, because he's jealous, he's got his own issues, and you isolate yourself and you stay away from the people that you love and the people that would normally support you. And it's hard to get that back because once you remove yourself from family and you remove yourself from your close friends, it's hard to just come out of the blue and say, hey, how you doing? Let's get together.
Yeah. I can imagine how tough that is in those moments, and having to deal with just like the the emotional part of it, and then also the perception of like what family or friends will say in those moments, right? Let's talk about the turning point. What gave you the strength or clarity to finally walk away? Was there something that happened that gave you that clarity?
Yeah. So I thank God I'm alive. Sorry.
That's okay.
So he was so jealous, and it was on my birthday. And he beat me up so bad that I ended up in a hospital. And that was the turning point.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I hate to say it like that, but I wish it would have, I would have left earlier, but you're so afraid to go out on your own. You don't have the financial means, and you think about how am I going to make it? But for any woman that's listening or any man, I wish I knew then what I know now. There's so many resources that are available to you. It doesn't take for you to be in a hospital bed with a fractured arm and a black eye and bruises all over to realize that you are significant.
Absolutely.
And there is help, whether it's a stranger or your family. It's okay to be embarrassed because the embarrassment only lasts for a short period. So that was the turning point. And then I realized that I am worth it, and I am so much more than this man has made me to believe that I am. And that I am so much more than these bruises that I'm looking at on my birthday, laying in a hospital. So that was the turning point for me, laying in a hospital bed on my birthday, fractured because I looked too cute on that night.
Yeah.
And you know, I finally made the call to my aunt, who was like a mom to me. And she came and got me, and I stayed with her. And ever since then, she kind of just helped nurture me back and build my confidence. I stayed with her, and then I changed my cell phone number. I got a new location. Everything about me changed because I was now living for me, and I was growing for me, and I had a lot of healing to do in me. Got a restraining order. And yeah, it was when he said, if I ever see you again, I'll kill you, that I realized that, yeah. And he would, because I saw too many women who have died or have suffered from the from the hands of an abuser, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally. And I didn't want to be that statistic.
Well, I'm happy that you did make that decision to stand up, get some clarity, and figure out that this was the best decision for you. No, it was definitely wasn't easy. But you talked about your aunt, and that was one of the person that it seemed became your anchor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about her just a little bit. And how was it having that conversation with her? Did you find it, that you were probably like overthinking if you'd have been judged? Or was it an easier conversation than what you anticipated it to be?
It was a much easier conversation than what I anticipated it to be. Because at that time, my aunt was going through her own challenges and decided to uproot her family and children to move forward. And she, God rest her soul, she was my anchor and my pillar and my foundation. And she helped to put my foot on solid ground. And it was a much easier conversation because she had realized that I was being abused just from the way he talked to me and the way I lied about certain marks on my body. She had recognized it. And she told me the most empowering thing. She said, listen, I understand what love feels like, but it is only when you decide that you choose you will you be able to get out.
I like that.
And it's the hardest thing for a woman or anyone to do, a man or woman, when you decide to choose you and not put somebody else first. You have to choose you. And you got to dig deep, because when you choose you, that means that it's okay to love someone from a distance, but you can love them and let go.
Absolutely.
You have to choose you. And it's hard. People don't realize how hard that is to choose you, because you pour into someone and you want to make things work and your heart talks to you. But you choose you. And when you choose you, you'll break free.
Yeah. Healing and rebuilding. We know that healing isn't like instant, right?
Right.
What did you do on the road of recovery? And, what does that look like for you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? And I know this is something that has happened to you, so far back. But is that something that you find that you're still healing from? Because, traumas and, life-changing experiences, that could be a journey in itself just for recovery. How are you dealing with that?
Oh my gosh, you asked so many great questions, Dave. It's right on it because every day we're healing, right? Mm-hmm. Every day we're healing from something.
Absolutely.
Every day. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I didn't know there were so many resources available. And you're ashamed, right? You're ashamed to go and get help because it's like therapy. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody gets therapy. Mm-hmm. You talking to somebody thinks something's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. But therapy is absolutely okay. And my aunt, she was going to church. And let me tell you, there's nothing more than putting your faith in something more than yourself, right? Because it helps it was a distraction, a good distraction for me. To put my faith in God. And I felt like I had always been faithful, but this is a different kind of faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different kind of direction as an individual. Mm-hmm. So I found a new faith in God, and I started to journal and, would put things in a diary back then. Mm-hmm. I started to date myself and look at myself in the mirror. And she was an important part of it because me and her would date each other.
Nice.
We would just go out. We go out to the clubs back then or whatever, go out to breakfast in the morning, go to church, and then have dinners and just have conversation because you have to be your authentic self. You have to be true.
Yeah.
And I've learned that it's okay to talk about it. Don't be ashamed of what you've experienced in life. Mm-hmm. Don't be ashamed because you were abused or because someone put their hands on you. Don't be ashamed because you had a black eye. Don't be ashamed because somebody called you degrading names or ripped the clothes off your back. Don't be ashamed of it because that is what makes you stronger because you're here to talk about it and you are living and breathing. And you can praise the good Lord because you're here. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to define you, but what it does is it strengthens you. And Absolutely. It makes you such a much more better person. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that help me. And now, today, there's so many more resources. Mm-hmm. There are places you can go where they'll help you to start all over again.
Absolutely.
It's just...
Absolutely.
And therapy's good. I'm doing therapy now because...
I'm a big advocate for therapy. I know it's not really the... for our culture and stuff like that, it's not always the thing that we run to because we feel as if like we're strong enough or we could pray it away. But I find that, therapy doesn't have to look like it has mental illness associated with it, right? And I think the thing is that we all can use therapy. We may not go to a therapist, but for people that are great at being sounding boards, that's a form of therapy, right? But when you need to get to the deeper rooted issues, I think it's always a great thing to go to someone that specializes in that area that can lead us to to a path where we can get to, here's how we're connecting the dots. And this makes sense, right? And it provides us with a sense of healing and realization, right? So big advocate for therapy.
And, the other thing is that people are ashamed to get it because they feel like they're being judged or they don't want to talk about it with their family because they're afraid of being judged. And they're just ashamed in general. But it's so relieving to be yourself, your true self, and tell your truth.
Yeah. But I think also, like too, that also comes from a place of like being ready to face the things that we fear the most. Because a lot of times, therapy is not always going to be easy, right? So it's going to get through to like the bones of the issue, if you will.
Right.
And you got to cut through the meat, which it hurts, right? But I think once you're at a place where you're looking for that type of closure or answers, then yes, therapy is the right time. But if you're just going because you're just going, there's not really healing that could take place until you're really at that place to deal with those uncomfortable things and find answers, right? Yeah. I want to segue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to segue a little bit because I know you talked about it a little bit too. In terms of like rebuilding trust, you talked earlier about like, you would date yourself. I think that's really a clever thing and a very important thing. A lot of times, maybe we kind of skip that process in our healing. But I think you just said it so eloquently where I just want you to just talk about it a little bit in terms of going back on date. Did this help you, dating yourself, and you said also your aunt as well. Did you find that this helped you to rebuild trust in yourself and also in others? Was that a part of the reason why you chose to take that route?
It is. And again, back then it was like you didn't know about the therapy, so I leaned on this individual, and she helped me beyond measure. But also, you have to come to terms with, yes, that this experience, right, is not the way it should go.
Right.
This is not how it should be, and you have to recognize that. Because I was brought up into that, I thought that this was normal. You have to recognize that this is not normal. And as an individual, you also have to do some self-searching and look yourself in the mirror and have that difficult conversation because, we ain't all that. We got some issues going on ourselves. You know what I mean?
We do.
Everybody. Everybody got a little stuff. Everybody got stuff in their closet. It's stuffed in there. And sometimes you have to, how they say, declutter. Sometimes you have to declutter and you have to look on the shelf and dust off that book and open it up. And you really have to do a big, deep, and a hard look at yourself in the mirror, right?
Absolutely.
And how many of us really define what it is we really want? You know how they say, how God says, ask and you shall receive. But what are you really asking for? Do you really know what you want and what you're asking for? Or is it, God, lead me to what you would have for me? Because I was at a point where I don't know what to ask for anymore. I don't know what's for me. I don't know what's real, what's not real. And trusting and am I recognizing the red flags? Because some of us don't. Because we want love so badly, we don't see it, We want to be held. We want to be embraced. We don't see it. Until you get into this place where it's like 6 months, a year down the line, you're like, oh, shucks, who is this?
Right.
So, you have to do some self-searching, and it's okay to address yourself. Write a letter to yourself. Write a love letter to yourself. Like, what would you want it to say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
I think that's really beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about today as you stand. There's been, some time.
Right.
What does peace look like for you today?
So peace is this moment. It is this moment.
Nice.
Sitting here, being able to conversate about it. And, there are moments where I will have a breakdown because I realize how much I've grown. And there are moments in my life now that I will cry about. But this is the moment where I can sit back in peace and be at one with myself and know that my heart is good and my mind is clear. It's a peace like no other. It's calmness, it's serene, it's gentleness, it's kindness, it's that agape love, it's the warm embrace. It's the smell of apples and cinnamon brewing on the stove.
Yeah.
It's a piece where you can walk and feel the warmth of the sun and just that cool breeze. And it's a calmness and a certain level of comfort and not fear. It's not fear. It's not heartache. It's not struggle. It's not stress.
Right.
To me, that's what peace is. And I'm loving every minute of it.
Well, shout out to peace. I think everyone deserves that, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you're able to find peace and you're in a great place, right? And, our past definitely does not define us. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you just did not sit there and just being like, curve, just kind of like letting life pass you by, but you did what you needed to do to get out of the situation. You did what you needed to do to find healing and to find peace. And that's where you are right now, which is a beautiful thing. And I just wish that will just continue the way through. And, life is all about ups and downs, the curves and everything happens, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in those moments when it feels, uncertain, just remember those moments that peace is important and just the things that you enjoy to bring you peace. Find the time to really enjoy those things. Dolly, if anyone that's listening right now who are at the same place where you were, scared, unsure, maybe still in it, what advice would you give them?
So, my biggest advice to you is to put you first and that you matter. You matter and you are somebody. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you cannot. Don't let them don't let them talk you into feeling that there is no way out, that you cannot do better. You can. Just remember, for everything that you're going through now, there is a better. You can see yourself out of it. Mm-hmm. There is a way out of it. Mm-hmm. You can do it on your own. You don't need this person there. You do not. And you will find better and you will do better. You just have to believe that and know it. And it's okay to just step out on faith. Step out on your faith and your strength, because you do have the strength to do it. You do. Yes. Don't let anyone tell you different.
Yes, you do. Dolly, thank you so much for your courage and for your honesty. I'm sure whatever you shared today will bless people tremendously, right? Because it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage to relive trauma and to also share experience. But I think once we share our experiences, that's how we help to create a better place for the world and for people who don't have a voice, right? Or who feels as if they don't have a voice, because at the end of the day, we do. It's just that we have to really be brave enough to take that first step, because there's always resources, there's always people there willing to assist and come to our aids, right? But we can't help, or you can't get help unless you're talking to someone. So, we hope that someone will be brave enough, who may be going through this, who may be listening to this, and find their strength through your experiences and how you're able to overcome and where you are right now. Before we close, what's one thing you wish more people understood about survivors and domestic violence?
I wish that people would not judge you because of what you're going through. That was my biggest. And I wish they would understand that it is serious, and that the abuse doesn't stop. And don't try to convince yourself that it will. And abuse is not love. It is not a form of love. And it never will be. Don't convince yourself that that's love, because it isn't. And I wish that I would have known that back then.
Yeah.
And to tolerate that behavior is not love. And it's not your lack of love for the individual, and it's not their love for you. Abuse is not love, and it's not a form of love or caring.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that back then.
Yeah, well, what they say, unfortunately, sometimes we just got to go through it to understand it, right? And now that you're on the other side and you're doing your work in terms of like advocating for others and sharing your story, I think that is the key thing, so someone else, if you could help one person not go through what you got to go through, then your job in terms of healing and providing guidance is really in effect, right? To everyone that's listening, remember, love, it doesn't hurt. Silence, protect the abuser, not the abused. So if this conversation, brings you some type of discomfort, as we mentioned at the top of the show, there's the National Domestic Violence hotline, 800-799-SAFE, which is 7233, or you could text START to 88788. Dolly, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully next time you'll come back and you join us. We could talk about what life looks like right now after that experience. And, I know there's a lot of great things that are happening for you in real time. And I think that's also important to share, right? Because we talk about your past. We also want to share information about how we're doing it in present time. Because like you said, going through it may seem harder than it is. But once you are brave enough to take your power, life begins. And what it looks like for you, only you can create that. It's for you to paint it whichever way that you choose.
Absolutely. And you have the strength to do it. You'll cry, but that's all right. They're just tears. Wipe them away.
There you go.
And keep going.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much for your time. Great advice. Thank you for entrusting me to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. Until next time. I appreciate
you.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. God bless.